The Legal Resources Foundation Trust, LRF, was founded in December 1993 with a vision of making Kenya a just and equitable society.
The story of Legal Resources Foundation will go as far back, I think, as the early 1990s.
In those formative years, LRF was known as the Rights Awareness Program, RAP, and operated under the auspices of the Kenya Human Rights Commission, KHRC. RAP remained under KHRC's umbrella until 2000. RAP was the brainchild of Mburu Gitu, Alfred Ndambiri, and Paul O'Brien, who met and cultivated a strong bond while working in different capacities at Kituo cha Sheria, one of the pioneer human rights organizations in Kenya.
I had joined Kituo cha Sheria around 1990 as an intern. Later on became a legal officer there. My friend Alfred Ndambiri was a student at the Faculty of Law at the University of Nairobi. And he also used to intern at Kituo cha Sheria. And I remember one of the things he used to do then was to visit secondary schools to talk to students about their rights. And then we had another friend called Paul O'Brien, who was Irish. And Paul O'Brien had just completed his studies at Harvard Law School. And so he found himself here in Kenya at Kituo cha Sheria, also at about the same time. And over a period of time, we began having conversations.
They were later joined by John Gashie, Tirop Arap Kitur, Mwambi Mwasaru, Sally Mwangola, Jedida Wakonyo, and Dr. Willy Mutunga, the current Chief Justice of Kenya. An advisory board comprising of Dr. Mutunga, Mwasaru, Mwangola, and O'Brien was established to oversee RAP's operations. RAP's core mandate was to bridge the gap for continuous legal education in Kenya. This was done through drama, paralegal education, schools outreach, and publications. Efforts to legally register as the Rights Awareness Program were frustrated by the government of the day, which deemed the title politically provocative.
We are just coming out of a very, very oppressive one-party dictatorship. Legal education, making people aware of the law, was often perceived as something that is inciting people. So you're working in conditions where those in power see you as opponents, as enemies, because when people begin to ask their rights, they inevitably, confront the duty bearers at different levels. And that was seen as oppositionist.
They declined to register the name Rights Awareness Program. I think they were uncomfortable with the idea of an organization involved in rights as part of your name.
The resistance from the government prompted consideration of a less controversial title, hence the Legal Resources Foundation Trust, LRF. LRF was approved by the NGO Bureau in January 1995 and officially replaced RAP. 9 months later, the advisory board was restructured to become a board of trustees. Mwasaru became its first chairman with Kitur, Mwangola, Ndambiri, Gashie, and Gitu as the other pioneer trustees. LRF started its operation at a time when Kenya was experiencing political change and economic hardship. Multi-party politics had only been recently restored. However, autocracy and general breakdown in the rule of law remained.
That was the Kenya of the early 1990s, where suspicion was all over the place.
On the economic front, the government was implementing World Bank/IMF recommended structural adjustment programs, which resulted in reduced public sector spending that negatively affected delivery of social justice.
So it was a critical time to begin to talk about people knowing their legal rights. And now at that time with the human rights discourse coming in, opening that so that they can talk of human rights. They have the international legal systems also supporting that. So it was the beginning of the pro-democracy movement.
Despite these challenges, LRF quickly made an impact with its unique use of participatory theatre to highlight contemporary legal and human rights issues. LRF plays received critical acclaim in national press for highlighting critical issues such as corruption, domestic violence, and land inheritance that had hitherto not received such coverage.
We decided we were going to do a drama piece. Luckily for us, it was very well received. I think the power or the newness I think we introduced there, and I think it was to become a hallmark of our work at Legal Resources Foundation over the years, was the idea of participation. So building educational pieces which create spaces for participants to also become involved in the discussions.
In 1997 and 1998, LRF was feted during the Mbalamwezi Theatre Awards for its contribution to the use of theatre for development in Kenya. It won awards in the stage play, community theatre, and schools theatre categories. In August 2000, LRF was registered as a trust under the Perpetual Succession Act. From inception until then, Gitu and Dambiri had served as the foundation's co-coordinators. In 2001, Gitu became the first executive director of LRF. The board of trustees had been reconstituted with Gashie as chairman, Dr. Kimani Njogu as vice chair, and Kitur, Wakonyo, Gitu, and Wamboi Kimathi as members. The foundation had grown and was now implementing 5 programs: paralegal training, theatre, schools outreach, materials development and media, advocacy, and networking. The Secretariat, which operated from Waumini House Annex in Westlands, had expanded from 5 members of staff to 10, but challenges remained. In December 2002, Kenya underwent a political transition as Daniel Arap Moi relinquished the presidency to Mwai Kibaki, who won the presidential election with a landslide on the National Rainbow Coalition (NAC) ticket. Kibaki's inauguration ushered in a new era of optimism regarding economic prosperity, expansion of human rights, and eradication of corruption. Meanwhile, LRF continued to grow and position itself to take advantage of new opportunities. The foundation moved its offices from Westlands to Lenana Road in Kilimani. It also made significant gains implementing its 3-year strategic plan for 2000 to 2003, as more than 30 secondary school teachers were trained on human rights. They in turn cascaded this knowledge to students through formation of law clubs and inter-school debates. The Yatta Community Paralegal Project successfully completed training dozens of paralegals and established 4 community resource centers. The Media Advocacy and Training Program held training workshops in 5 provinces to improve journalists' capacity to cover elections, while the Materials Development Program continued to publish and disseminate relevant literature on legal and human rights awareness. In late 2003, LRF celebrated 10 years of exceptional service in the human rights subsector. In that time, the foundation had succeeded in expanding its geographical reach from Nairobi to Thika, Machakos, Nakuru, Kitale, Lodwar, Kisii, and Homa Bay.
I have seen the organization grow from being a very small institution to become an important institution in terms of advocacy. I've seen some of our programs grow. I have seen us get much more engaged with other issues that we were not engaged with earlier.
Still, national efforts to enhance human rights continued to yield mixed results. Although the NAC government had made substantial gains in expanding democratic space, squabbles within the coalition were hindering delivery of a new constitution that was meant to anchor major institutional reforms. In February 2004, Jedida Wakonyo was appointed executive director in acting capacity. She was confirmed in the position later that year. Wakonyo succeeded Gitu, who had moved on to become secretary of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights in November 2003. Wakonyo oversaw the restructuring and expansion of the paralegal training program to the paralegal and impact litigation program. The expanded program boasted two main projects, the Kenya Prison Paralegal Project and the Community Paralegal Project. In addition to hosting the Secretariat of the Paralegal Support Network PASUNE, the umbrella body for all organizations providing paralegal training and services in Kenya. In 2004, LRF pioneered access to justice committees, AJCs, in Kenya under its Administration of Justice program. The pilot phase was rolled out at Thika Law Courts. In 2006, LRF scaled up the project by establishing AJCs at the Kisii, Migori, Embu, Meru, Makadara, and Eldama Ravine court stations. In 2007, a meeting of the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association, KMJA, resolved to adopt the AJC concept and implement it in all court stations as Court Users Committees, CUCs. CUCs are forums where actors in the administration of justice system as well as consumers of justice come together to deliberate on and find solutions to issues that impede access to and administration of justice. They are also meant to promote accountability and enhance the performance of courts and all actors within the criminal justice system. Meanwhile, LRF's Material Development Program was implementing several projects spanning print and broadcast media. It was publishing the youth-oriented Young Voice magazine, a biannual Kamba language newsletter Uini Utonyi, an essay writing competition for high school students, and producing and airing dozens of programs on legal and human rights awareness through partnerships with KBC, Royal Media Services, and Waumini FM. During this time, LRF achieved a historic milestone as it organized for the first time in Kenya for civic education in the Maa language to be conducted via radio. 2008 marked the end of successful implementation of LRF's first comprehensive 5-year strategic plan. In 2009, LRF won the inaugural Civil Society Organization of the Year award. LRF had also significantly enhanced its institutional capacity. Donor funding had steadily grown from 52 million shillings in 2005 to 64 million in 2009. Staff had increased to 39. Under a new strategic plan for 2009 to 2013, the Foundation's programs were structured as follows: Administration of Justice, Research and Development, Governance, Advocacy and Outreach. In 2010, Professor Kimani Njogu succeeded John Gashie as chairman of the Board of Trustees. On August 27, 2010, Kenya promulgated a new constitution after conducting a peaceful and successful referendum. The occasion was celebrated by all Kenyans, but more so by the civil society that had spent decades advocating for institutional reforms and human rights.
We are seeing post-2010, the Constitution, a lot of the reforms now are coming back and they are being realized.
Following promulgation of the new Constitution, CUCs received fresh impetus with the formation of the National Council on Administration of Justice, NCAJ, under the Judicial Service Act of 2011. NCAJ is composed of both state and non-state actors in the criminal justice system. The Council is mandated to ensure a coordinated, efficient, effective, and consultative approach in administration of justice and reform of the criminal justice system. NCAJ is keen to make CUCs vibrant and successful as part of its mandate to facilitate establishment of CUCs at the county level. To this end, NCAJ has leaned heavily on the leadership of LRF and KMJA.
I've seen a lot of growth, specifically to do with programs, but also policy advocacy, where we have been able to take up small achievements from programs and amplify them in the policy environment, such that then we've had various successes in influencing policy. For example, court user committees in 2012, that idea became, anchored in the law, in the Judicial Service Act. Court user committees were recognized for the very first time. And in 2013, April, the court user guidelines that we used to use as LRF, through again that growth in policy advocacy, were evaluated by the judiciary among other actors and actually launched. And that is what now guides the framework of all the court user committees in the country. So an idea that started small has grown to influence policy.
LRF continues to grow and receive recognition and accolades for its transformative initiatives and leadership in human rights and legal education.
LRF is a current bearer of the Civil Society of the Year Award. The Civil Society of the Year Award is really a peer review mechanism that gauges the level at which different civil society organizations are at. Currently, we are implementing programs on administration of justice. That has been a passionate appeal for LRF for the many years it has existed, to bring together effectiveness and efficiency in the running of government institutions. The idea is that the justice system cannot be changed by one institution. Therefore, all the institutions must run together. They must all be at the same level of reform. The other area we are targeting is governance and development, and of course our main aim is to enhance citizen participation, particularly the women, the persons with disability, excluded communities who have felt that they've had no voice or say in the past regimes. We are also implementing socio-economic rights, ensuring that social security rights, social justice is amplified. And then lastly, research and advocacy is a cross-cutting thematic area for us, because the research that LRF does not only informs programs, but is also able to inform policy development. Then lastly, of course, is looking inward, building the capacity of our staff and our board members so that then they become agents of change in the society. In terms of our research and advocacy work, we did a research in 2009 called The Sentencing Trends in Kenya, and we looked at the practices, the emerging trends, and we looked at judicial discretion as factors that are able to contribute towards the sentencing trends that are happening in the country. And we realized that really there was a huge gap, a huge disparity. And so we took it up, and our efforts have not been unfruitful. Currently we have a sentencing task force that exists, and our book was actually a background research material that the task force is using. And so we are quite happy, because we are saying that, this agitation, this advocacy is bearing fruit. And that task force is supposed to actually develop a national framework that guides sentencing in Kenya.
In October 2014, LRF unveiled its strategic plan with emphasis on decentralization of programs in line with devolution.
I think that the new constitution does provide a tremendous opportunity for the growth of LRF as an institution. And we have, in fact,